but I'd just like to start by introducing myself. My name is Rob Lightfoot. Some of you will know me from previous hub launches, but I'm really excited to welcome you all to our hub launch for, 2021 to 22. We've made a few changes this year, and Anne McCarthy will talk through those in more detail. And then the hub leads for this year, we'll be spending some time today giving more information about our specific hub programme for the year ahead. But really, to start with, it's just to welcome you. As I say, my name's Rob Lightfoot. I've got the exciting and privileged position to be starting as the new CEO for NACE, officially starting in October, but obviously because this is a really important part of NACE for the year ahead, it seems sensible to welcome you all today. And as I say, the R&D hubs, the research and development hubs, have been going now for a number of years. I can see people on the attendance list that we've met before, which is great to have you returning, and indeed some of you new to the programme. So as I say, we'll talk through the details of what the hubs are all about for the year ahead. But I would like to publicly say thank you to Sue Riley, our current CEO, for the work she's done, the amazing work over the last 5 years. It's making my transition as easy as possible, but certainly giving us challenges ahead. I'm really excited to be here this evening with you launching this programme today. In essence, I want you to understand that what we're trying to do is put research into practice actually within the classroom, obviously where it's most important. And I don't want anyone to be concerned if you're completely new to this idea of research and professional inquiry, then you will get all the support that you need throughout the year. And indeed, if you're existing researchers and you're involved heavily in projects already, then I hope we'll be able to help you refine those further. So for example, I see there are a number of you from Challenge Award schools, and you may be involved with the evidence schools there as well. And there's a place for everyone in these meetings and these hubs. So I welcome you all, and I hope, as you say, that you'll be enthused as we are for the year ahead. So welcome again, everybody. I'll pass over now to Anne, who's going to introduce the launch programme to you today.
Welcome from me. What I'm going to do today is to talk to you about what you'll gain from the hub, but also what it is we can offer you, what we expect from you. First of all, our agenda today, just so you know what we're working through, we'll look at what a NACE Research and Development Hub actually is. You'll get an opportunity to meet the 3 hubs and their leaders. I'm going to then talk to you a little about what it is to be a hub participant, and then you will have an opportunity for about 15 minutes to go into hubs and talk to other people who want to follow that particular line of inquiry and have some discussions about what it is you want to gain from the hub, what you might gain, and how that will work for the year, so that you actually feel really confident before joining the hub. And then we'll get some feedback at the end, and then I'm going to share some upcoming dates for your diary. So the first question is, what is the NACE Research and Development Hub? Now, for those of you who are returning hub members, you will know of the great value from working with others who value research and development as the basis of teaching. We really see the 2 aspects of research and development go hand in hand. First of all, you have a developmental focus in your school, or your schools are always trying to improve. Everything you do in the classroom, you think, well, actually, I did that. So what now do I need to do next? How do I make it better? If you're a school leader, you're always looking for a strategy to improve things without adding to workload for people. So it's really, really important that our developmental work is really focus of what we do. Becoming part of a hub allows you to actually base that development inside research. So you have hub leaders who provide you with a sense of what the background research is, what the key themes of that research might be. They point you in the direction of actually where you might find information, or the literature that's out there that give you some headline information. Obviously, they point you to the NACE website, where there's quite a lot of background information. Now the website is full of information on a wide variety of aspects of curriculum, teaching and learning. We discussed this last year, and as we started to refine the use of the hubs, the one thing we really felt was the strongest part of the research and development hubs is the fact that you are actually having professional learning and development with other people who are like-minded, but also based in research. So it's not the opinions of somebody else, or it's not what you saw at another school. It's not just snippets of information, but it's information which has been well researched, well developed, and then you are saying, well, in my classroom practice, what do I need to do? What's different? So we have quite a lot of power in terms of this being one of the best forms of CPD. And those of you who already engage in inquiry-based development and learning, you will know that your best learning comes from what do I see happening? Where have I seen it? How does it work in my classroom? How is that supported by research? So this is what hubs actually do. The one thing I have to really always draw to your attention is, as these are NACE hubs, we always begin with a focus on the more able and talented. Now, quite often people challenge me on this because they say, well, actually, this works for everybody, or this should be for everybody. But of course it is. The reason we focus on the more able and talented is because we have a really strong belief that if you undertake an inquiry or undertake work which focuses on the more able and talented in your classroom, then you will also be improving outcomes for all. Because what tends to happen is you say, actually, the more able children in my classroom are not responding well to this aspect of my teaching, or they need more on this aspect of learning. And you say, well, actually, I know how to refine that for them. I know how to improve my practice there. And having improved my practice there, how do I widen that practice that it improves the outcomes for all? So we begin with all our inquiries focused on more able and talented. Within the hub, as I say, as you can see, you have access to expert and informed advice. Now, we're privileged to have hub leaders who are really interested, enthusiastic and engaged in both the research side and the practice in their fields of expertise. And therefore, when you need information, you need advice, you know by going to them that they actually they own that information, but they also, when they don't have the answer, have a wider network themselves where they can find answers for you. So it's a really important group to belong to. Obviously, the purpose is to develop your body of knowledge. And the real benefit of working in any sort of network is a sharing environment. So bringing you all together with that same focus, same theme for your hub. What we're hoping that you will bring your professional practice to the table. You will actually share with others what works really well. You will be able to exemplify good practice, and you will be able to describe why that's good practice. You will be able to talk about the impact that your choices in your classrooms, in your schools, has on the learner, and how those choices then can be used more widely by other schools. One of the big things that we really wanted to do, though, with these research and development hubs was to make sure that member schools had a voice in the wider research around education. Because quite often you actually have some really good ideas, some really good practice, and you share them with your groups of schools, your teams of schools, your networks, but you're not always recognised individually, nationally or internationally, for that contribution you make to an understanding of teaching and learning. And so one of the things we really focused on doing is making sure that by contributing to the network to be part of a hub, that your contribution can be used more widely. So that's what the hub is about. And the purpose of the hub is to support you in teacher inquiry, because what we've found is that when we talk to people about classroom-based research or research more generally, it seems like an enormous task. What we've actually done is to synthesize the key elements of what it is to undertake teacher inquiry, and to pace it through the year with people who are well experienced, and to support you in your classroom practice and allow you to actually talk and explain more widely how your practice works. Now, obviously, our work comes from some links to something that NACE does, and I was privileged to be able to share practice in schools across the country, and some of the schools represented here, who said, these are the things we do. This is how we put cognitive challenge into our classroom. And what we've obviously sent to all your schools, if you're NACE members, the Making Space for Able Learners journal, which shows what the theory said, what the schools were saying, how we can see it in practice. So a sort of quick go-to handbook of research in practice. And this is an example of how bringing together people's ideas can actually help you, to support you in your learning and teaching, and to actually share themes of ideas of what makes good practice without giving people a tick list of things to do. Now, because we have this background document, what our hub leaders are doing is, where there are appropriate links, they are linking that piece of research to the work they do in the hubs, so that we use the same language for our discussion, for our talk. It helps us then as a basis for our work. If we say that our projects focus on cognitive challenge for the more able, and we all understand what cognitive challenge is, and we understand that cognitively challenging learning will support learning rather than increase workload and increase stress, then we're in a really good place. So this document is the basis for our research background. We also have a second document, which when Rob speaks again later, he's done some research with the university on perfectionism, and that will soon be published. So we'll have another support document sitting there, which gives a clear background to perfectionism in particular. And then our hub leaders will then be able to provide you with links to other external research that has been undertaken in the recent past, which supports the work that they do, because we obviously want to be sure we draw on research. The other thing that the hubs are doing this year, if you've been previously in a hub, this is slightly different. And what we're working on is a single hypothesis. You've seen the themes, and we're going to look at a single hypothesis and line of inquiry that all participants will work on. I mean, there may be slightly different wording in things people do, but essentially it's underpinned by a single hypothesis, which hopefully means that at the end of the year, when you all bring your findings together, it will actually come together as something really substantial and really strengthen thinking in the area you're working. So at this point, you need less of me and more about the hubs and the hub leaders. I'm going to allow hub leaders to introduce themselves and what their hubs are planning to do, so that before you go into breakout groups, you can get a clear idea of the group that you want to belong to. So we're beginning here with Bradford Copsell.
Hi everybody. So my name's Stephanie Ngenda and I'm the head of school at Copthorne Primary. In our hub, I'm also joined by Andrew Johnston, who also works at Copthorne. He's our lead research advisor. And a co-lead with myself is Christabel Shepherd. I'm not sure if you can see her there, she'll do a wave. Christabel is our executive head. So at Copthorne, we are a school who've achieved the NACE Challenge Award. We were reaccredited very recently in June this year. As I've just touched on briefly, Andrew is our lead research advisor, both at Copthorne in our school and across our multi-academy trust, and he's held that position for 5 years. And Christabel brings with her a wealth of experience. She is a NACE Director of Curriculum and Challenge. She's also a NACE trustee and is also a Challenge Award assessor. Now, in our hub that's going to focus specifically on pedagogy and curriculum for cognitively challenging learning, we're going to continue on our work from last year, where we'll explore pedagogy for the more able, specifically focusing on approaches and instructional models that are recommended through cognitive science and evidence-based research findings, looking at strategies where cognitive challenge is a core element of that approach. So, for example, things like metacognition, retrieval practice, effective questioning, all of those things have cognitive challenge as a key feature. And then this focus will be further developed for us to investigate how those findings might impact on our school curriculum design and our implementation approaches, specifically for those more able children.
Good afternoon again. Obviously, you've heard from me already today, but I think this area is something that has always troubled me throughout my sort of years leading on more able provision in schools. It's something that I've been very, very aware of, and I know speaking with colleagues who are also MAT leads and leaders in this field have had concerns about with some of our young people. And it is some of our young people. I think it's clear to say that having these high levels of perfectionist characteristics don't necessarily cause anybody a problem. They're advantages rather than disadvantages. Indeed, some of our most able students are often those with a lot of self-drive, but there are others where it does affect them negatively. And something that also has concerned me is not necessarily within school, but when students go on to university, and there are areas there where it may cause them concern, perhaps after their schooling with us. So, I mean, basically, the topic here, the advantage is a lot of the resources are already in place. Anne mentioned already that we've got a report coming out very shortly, where I've been working with York St John University on a mattering project with this. And I'll just explain very briefly to everyone what that's about. I mean, basically, when students are perfectionistic, they place unrealistic expectations on themselves and others, or report experiencing pressure. And I think that's what I've seen in schools, and I've sometimes felt powerless to be able to do anything about it. What we're finding is that being perfectionist or having these high levels of perfectionist characteristics, it's certainly becoming more common in young adolescents and more able students in particular. Now, that research was conducted before the pandemic, and what we'll be interested to see and whether those things have been highlighted any further. But even before the pandemic, it was clear that these high levels of perfectionist characteristics were increasing in young adolescents. So one way to support students that we were looking at is to increase their perfectionist or perfectionism literacy. So really, does a lesson introducing the advantages and disadvantages of what perfectionist characteristics can provide, can that help young people to recognise features of perfectionism in themselves first, knowledge of the help that's available to them, and a willingness for them to seek help if it's required. So that's what we've been looking at this year. The report, as I say, it should be out in the next week or so. So if you join this hub, at our first meeting, we'll have that report all available for you. In addition to that, we'll have somebody from York University there as well to explain the research behind this area first. And then what we have is a bank of lesson materials, resources, ready to deliver that lesson. Now, what I would say at this stage, that's really developed at this point for those young adolescents. So it's kind of designed for students in years 8 to year 10. The actual research so far was conducted with students in year 10, but speaking to primary colleagues, I'm sure I'm sure this is of help to them as well. And I'm really interested in, and NACE are really interested in having primary colleagues there as well, in how we might be able to refine those resources to help with students of different ages. So that in essence is what the hub is about. I'm really excited, as I say, to have been working with York University on this, and I can see the impact it can have on students going forward. So that's what this hub is going to be about this year.
Hello, Shemai, and croeso, welcome. It's lovely to be part of the new Welsh Hub. I'm Alison Sykes. I'm Assistant Head Teacher in Bishopston Comprehensive School in Swansea. And my colleague Gwen Bowen, who is from Ysgol Gyfun Gwyr, is also co-leading this hub. Unfortunately, she isn't able to be with us today, but she's sending her very best regards. So it's quite exciting that we've got the lovely development of a new Welsh hub with NACE. And one of the biggest challenges we all know we've got at the moment in Wales is developing our new curriculum and ensuring that we stretch and challenge all our learners to be the very best that they can be. We obviously, as all schools, want all our children in Wales to be ambitious, capable and lifelong learners who are resilient, happy and healthy. Now, a lot of research shows us that self-regulated learners are aware of their strengths and weaknesses, and they can motivate themselves to engage in and improve their learning. So the focus of our hub is going to centre around how we can develop resilience and ambition in pupil learning. This theme is obviously relevant to our Welsh curriculum and the curriculum that we're developing independently in schools, but it's also more widely available to all schools, whether you live in Wales or not. So our theme will focus on the link between metacognition and self-regulation and how this can develop resilience. And really, there's going to be 4 parts to that. As a hub, I think it's important that we try and develop an understanding of the importance of cognitive challenge as we develop our new curriculum, to learn more about self-regulation and metacognition, and again, to have as a hub a common understanding about that as we're working within our classrooms, to then use this knowledge to improve resilience and ambition in our more able pupils, and to understand how this impacts on all pupils. So ultimately, we're going to be looking at focusing on self-regulation and metacognition and asking, if I focus on a key aspect of this in my teaching, will my children show greater resilience and ambition in their learning?
Okay, so now we have to look at what it is to become a hub participant. So things you might expect now. First of all, you're going to be working with other professionals, because everybody that's joined the hub has obviously decided that this is the hub that best suits them and the needs of their school. The most important thing around research is to know how to conduct your classroom-based inquiry effectively. You'll be shown how to do this by people who already have practiced it and have already led before on how to actually do this, both within NACE and further afield. You will be given some background information and you'll be guided all the way through your inquiries, so you're not left alone to flounder. And those days where it feels a little bit more difficult, there'll be somebody there to give you answers. Your research evidence is going to allow you to refine practice. The thing we expect from you, though, is to commit to that engagement with the hub for the whole year. You have to, within your school, be in a position to undertake and report on something you do in the classroom. So that has to work with the permission of your senior leaders and the support of your senior leaders. The activity you undertake doesn't have to be large activity, but it does need to be consistently planned, and it does need to be under the guidance of the hub leader and the agreement of your school leaders. As a result, you'll get excellent professional development. And we as NACE will benefit from your input. Your colleagues working on the same work will benefit, and then your school will benefit from your improved practice and the reports of how you can take that further and strategic implications of your work. So how does that look in practice? There are 4 interactive sessions. We're obviously beginning this year because of the uncertainty with online learning, and hope that at some point during the year that we will, and preferably at the end of the year when it comes to presentation time, that we might be able to be in a position that most, if not all of you, can work face to face. At the beginning, we have discussions around what's actually happening in my classrooms, what's actually happening in my school, hypothesizing as to why it happens, how it happens, and what could make a difference. You will be given some background into the existing research. You'll be given some references that you can follow yourself, and we then will baseline where you are now and where you want to be and how you're going to evidence it. The second 2 sessions are about setting up a type of inquiry and maintaining it. So who are the pupils that are going to be affected? Where is this group of more able pupils in your school? Which year group, which class? Is it being undertaken by you alone, or is there somebody else working with you? Obviously, it depends on the seniority in your school, whether you can plan something over 1 classroom or more than 1 classroom. But remember, these are just small scale classroom inquiries. So you don't need many pupils to undertake an inquiry. You need a target group of pupils for whom you wish to make a difference. So you'll be helped to plan your inquiry. you'll be helped to, excuse me, you'll be helped to work out what data would I collect. Quite often data in this environment is qualitative. So what sort of information will I collect? How will I know if it's meaningful information? How will I make measurement of it? How will I analyze it? Those discussions will take place during sessions 2 and 3 to help you to actually progress through a classroom-based inquiry. And then session 4 is the opportunity for everyone to feed back. What impact have you had in the year? What difference have you made to the teaching of more able pupils? What has your school achieved? How's it moving forward? How can that be shared more widely with others? Short presentations within your groups, short reports within your groups, plans for next steps, any key messages that can be shared more widely to the educational world. And then what you will receive. As I say, your school, I showed you earlier, your schools already have somewhere in the school, there should be a copy of the Making Space for More Able Learners report. Your hub leaders will give you some additional relevant reading or research evidence. They'll provide you with the ethical guidelines for the research. They'll give you a participant's guidance leaflet, reporting template and PowerPoint template to support your work, because the idea is not to add to your workload, it's to allow you to present your work efficiently and to do it as part of your classroom practice without having additional work to do on top of it. And then they'll be there to support you. You'll have your 2 mid-year meetings to support your progress, but you'll also have the opportunity to get back to them within reason on things that are appropriate questions or particular needs, and they will keep a watching brief on your progress so that you can actually reach the end of the inquiry. The important thing though is they don't need to have all the knowledge, because NACE has quite a significant amount of other networks nowadays and other forms of training. And on our website, obviously, there are plenty of other resources. So sometimes when you think you might need the hub leader, you actually find that the NACE already offers some specific training in the area that you're interested in.